The air was heavy with the scent of Puget Sound salt and cedar mingling in the April dusk. I stood outside the waterfront lodge, my hands trembling around a gift wrapped in silver paper. The windows glowed with warmth, casting golden light across the lawn. Inside, laughter spilled out, the kind that comes with clinking glasses and shared stories. It was my mother's 60th birthday party, a milestone I'd crossed mountains to celebrate. But my father's voice cut through the moment like a blade. "You're not on the list, Emma." His eyes were stone cold, his posture rigid, as if I were a gatecrasher at a stranger's gala. "I'm Emma Carter, 34, Vice President of Strategy at Horizon Innovations in San Francisco." And at that moment, I was a daughter without a family. The words hung there, sharp and final. My sister, Lauren, stood just behind him, her pink dress catching the fading sunlight. Her smirk was subtle but unmistakably a flicker of triumph that twisted my stomach. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. Planned. The weight of it pressed against my chest, stealing my breath. I'd flown from San Francisco that morning, a red-eye flight that cost $1,800 I couldn't quite afford. I'd spent weeks choosing the perfect gift, a sapphire necklace, to echo one. My mother, Linda, had loved in her grandmother's jewelry box, paired with a wellness retreat voucher. Nearly $3,000 to show I cared, to prove I was still part of this family. My teal dress, carefully chosen to balance warmth and professionalism, felt like a costume now. A futile attempt to belong. I could feel eyes on me. Guests lingering near the entrance, their whispers slicing through the air. "Is that Emma? I heard she doesn't talk to them anymore." Another voice, softer. "Lauren said she called Linda a terrible mother at Christmas." Lies. I'd never said those things. But the narrative was clear, woven tightly by Lauren's hands. I was the daughter who left, the one who traded family for a corner office, the villain they'd all agreed to cast me as. My heart pounded, urging me to run, to scream, to demand entry, but I didn't. I took a breath, steadying myself against the tide of humiliation. "Please give this to Mom," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. I handed the gift to my father, his hand closing around it reflexively. "Tell her I love her. And I hope she has a wonderful birthday." I turned, my steps measured, my head high. I wouldn't let them see me break. Lauren's laugh followed me, sharp and victorious, as I walked to my rental car. Inside the car, the world blurred. My hands shook so badly I couldn't fit the key into the ignition. The mascara I'd applied that morning threatened to carve rivers down my cheeks. I gripped the steering wheel, forcing air into my lungs. In, out, in, out. I wouldn't cry here, not in this parking lot, not where they could see. I'd drive to my hotel, book an earlier flight, and return to San Francisco. I'd close this chapter forever. No more holiday calls, no more pretending we were a family, just strangers who once shared a house in the Seattle suburbs. But as I sat there, the weight of that decision pressed harder. It wasn't just about today. It was about every moment that led here. Every memory that made this rejection cut so deep. Growing up in Seattle's green, quiet suburbs, I was the middle child, invisible in the spotlight of my siblings. Lauren, 3 years older, was the golden girl straight. As debate captain, the daughter my father, Richard, bragged about at his real estate office. Ethan, 5 years younger, was the charming baby, coddled and adored. Family dinners were performances. Lauren recited her latest achievements. Ethan got laughs for spilling his milk. And me? I was there, quiet, often half cropped out of photos. My presence felt like an afterthought, my face blurred at the edges of our family's story. But my mother, Linda, was my refuge. She saw the girl no one else did. When I was 8, I came home sobbing. I hadn't been invited to a classmate's roller skating party. The rejection stung, a wound only a child can feel so keenly. Richard dismissed it. "Life's not fair, Emma. Toughen up." But Linda knelt beside me, her hands soft on my shoulders. "Let's make our own party," she said. We baked cupcakes that night, the kitchen a mess of flour and laughter. She crafted a paper crown from construction paper, placing it on my head. "You're a star, Emma," she whispered. "Never let anyone dim your light." That crown, creased and faded, still lives in a box under my bed. A reminder of her love. At 11, I entered a poetry contest. I poured my heart into a poem about the Puget Sound tides. I won third place and not first, like Lauren's endless trophies. But Linda framed the ribbon, hung it in the living room right beside Lauren's awards. "This is about your soul, Emma," she said, "not the ranking." Richard took it down a week later, muttering about clutter. I found it months later, tucked in Linda's jewelry box, nestled beside her pearls. She'd kept it safe, a quiet act of defiance. And when I turned 15, my friends ditched my birthday for a cooler party. I sat on my bed, staring at the floor. Linda didn't lecture. She grabbed the car keys. "We're going on an adventure," she said. 3 hours later, we were hiking in Olympic National Park, the forest alive with moss and mist. We ate sandwiches under a canopy of stars. "Quality over quantity, Emma," she said. "That's what makes a life rich." Those moments were my anchors, proof that I mattered to someone. But standing outside that lodge, those memories felt like a betrayal. How had we gone from paper crowns to this? From hikes under starlight to my father's cold stare? The lodge's warmth mocked me. The laughter inside a reminder of my exclusion. Lauren's smirk burned in my mind, her role in this moment undeniable. This wasn't just about a guest list. It was a public declaration. I didn't belong. Not anymore. The gift in my father's hands. The necklace. The retreat voucher felt like a futile gesture now. I'd spent weeks choosing it, remembering how Linda once showed me her grandmother's sapphire ring. It was her favorite, she'd said, her voice soft with memory. I'd wanted to give her something that said, "I see you, Mom. I remember." But maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe she didn't want me here at all. As I sat in the car, a quieter memory surfaced. At 10, I'd dreamed of making a family scrapbook. A book to hold our moments' photos, letters, ticket stubs. I'd started it, gluing in a picture of Mom and me at the Seattle Aquarium, our faces lit by the jellyfish tank. Lauren saw it and laughed. "That's so childish, Emma." I hid it under my bed, never finished it. That dream felt foolish now. A child's hope for a family that didn't exist. But it stirred something in me. A flicker of defiance. I'd always wanted us to be whole. Even if they didn't want me. What would you do in that moment? Standing outside a celebration meant for you. Rejected by the people who should hold you closest. Would you walk away? Or fight for your place? I didn't know what came next. But as I gripped the steering wheel, one thing was clear. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Of a journey I never expected. One that would redefine what family means. And show me who I really am. The fog rolled in over San Francisco, blanketing the city in a quiet hush. From my office at Horizon Innovations, I could see the Golden Gate Bridge half-shrouded, its red towers fading into mist. At 34, I'd built a life Hera vice president of strategy, overseeing 150 employees, steering multi-million-dollar projects. My corner office, with its sleek glass desk and framed awards, was proof of what hard work could achieve. But as I sat there, staring at my laptop, the glow of success felt hollow. A notification pinged. A family group chat I hadn't opened in weeks. My mother, Linda, had sent a photo from Seatella's sunset over Puget Sound. "Miss you all," she wrote. I typed a reply, then deleted it. What could I say? The distance between us wasn't just miles. It was years of unspoken hurts, of feeling like a stranger to the family I'd once held so close. I'm Emma Carter, and this is the story of how my triumphs in San Francisco couldn't bridge the chasm growing back home. Leaving Seattle for college was my first rebellion. Lauren, my older sister, stayed close, enrolling at the University of Washington, her path neatly aligned with our father Richard's expectations. She joined his real estate business, the dutiful daughter, while Ethan, our younger brother, floated through life, his charm excusing his aimlessness. But I chose UC Berkeley, drawn to its energy, its distance. "Why so far, Emma?" Richard asked, his voice sharp. "Isn't Seattle good enough?" I didn't have an answer then, just a yearning for something bigger, something mine. Berkeley was where I found my voice coding late nights in the library, leading student projects, discovering a passion for tech. After graduation, I stayed in the Bay Area, climbing the ladder at Horizon Innovations. By 34, I was presenting to boardrooms, negotiating deals that made Richard's real estate firm look like a corner store. I'd done what I set out to do. I'd built a life. So why did it feel like I'd lost something irreplaceable? The family I left behind didn't celebrate my wins. They didn't understand them. Every Christmas, I'd send gift baskets stamped with Horizon's logo artisan chocolates, fine wines, a subtle nod to my success. But when I visited Seattle, Richard would glance at them and say, "Still at that tech thing, huh?" As if my career were a hobby I'd outgrow. Lauren was worse. 3 Christmases ago, after too much Merlot, she cornered me in our parents' kitchen. The air smelled of pine and roasted turkey, but her words were bitter. "You think you're so special, don't you, Emma? With your fancy San Francisco life? Sending gifts like that makes you family?" Her knife sliced through the pecan pie with unnecessary force. "I'm here every day, dealing with Mom and Dad, while you play big shot." I steadied myself against the counter. "I call every week, Lauren. I invite you to visit." Her eyes narrowed. "You show off. It's always a competition with you." The irony stung. Lauren, with her wall of accolades accusing me of competing? I'd spent my childhood cheering her on, invisible in her shadow. "I've worked hard for what I have," I said, keeping my voice low. "And you haven't?" Her laugh was sharp. "You think you're better than us because you left. Let me tell you something, Emma. Mom doesn't brag about your job. She doesn't even get what you do. I'm the one here, being a real daughter." Those words cut deeper than I'd admit. They echoed every fear I'd buried, that my success meant nothing if my family couldn't see it. After that night, Linda's weekly calls tapered off. Monthly, then sporadic. When we spoke, her voice was distant, distracted. The woman who'd baked cupcakes with me at 8, who'd framed my poetry ribbon, now struggled to recall my latest project. "You're so busy, Emma," she'd say, as if my life were a puzzle she couldn't solve. Ethan followed Lauren's lead, his playful texts fading to one-word replies. Richard's disapproval hardened. "Your mother worries about you," he'd say. "All alone in that city, working too much. It's not right for a woman your age." I'd explain I wasn't alone, friends, colleagues, a life I'd built. But to them, success without their version of family was failure in a designer suit. The distance wasn't just emotional. It was a narrative, carefully crafted. Lauren's words in that kitchen weren't a one-off. They were part of a campaign, subtle but relentless, to paint me as the daughter who abandoned them. She'd drop comments to Linda. "Emma's too busy for us now," until they took root. Linda's health didn't help. I'd noticed her forgetfulness during calls, her pauses longer than they used to be. Later, I'd learn of her mild depression, her memory issues, vulnerabilities Lauren exploited to control the family's story. My absence, necessary for my career, became evidence of neglect. My gifts, my calls, my invitations, none of it mattered against Lauren's version of me. Cold, career, obsessed, gone. But there was another side to my life, one my family never saw. In San Francisco, I'd found a quiet refuge in a community garden near Golden Gate Park. On weekends, I'd dig in the soil, planting tomatoes and lavender, my hands caked with earth. The garden was a patchwork of lives retirees, students, single moms all tending plots side by side. We'd share stories over coffee, laugh about failed zucchini crops. It grounded me, this small act of nurturing something alive. I'd imagine bringing Linda here, showing her the sunflowers I'd grown, the ones that reminded me of her garden in Seattle. I'd picture Ethan, maybe, joking as he pulled weeds. But I never invited them. Part of me feared their dismissal, their insistence that my life wasn't real without them. So I kept the garden to myself, a secret joy tinged with longing. That longing grew heavier with every family gathering I missed. Linda's 59th birthday, when a crisis at Horizon kept me in Singapore. Ethan's bartending gig promotion, which I congratulated via text. Richard and Linda's 35th anniversary dinner, where I was just a name on a card. Each absence added to the narrative Lauren fed them that I'd chosen ambition over love. But ambition wasn't the whole story. I worked late because I believed in my team, in the products we built, in the impact we made. I stayed up drafting strategies not for glory, but because I'd earned a seat at the table in an industry that didn't always welcome women like me. My success was my way of honoring the girl who'd once felt invisible, the one Linda had called a star. Yet, as I sat in my office that foggy evening, Linda's photo of Puget Sound staring back at me, I felt the weight of absence. Success couldn't fill the silence of a family drifting away. I opened my desk drawer, pulling out a small notebook. Inside was a sketch I'd made years ago, a family scrapbook page, unfinished, with that Seattle aquarium photo of Mom and me. I dreamed of filling it with our moments, of holding us together. Now, it felt like a relic of a hope I'd outgrown. Or had I? Maybe the girl who'd started that scrapbook still believed in a family that could see her, not as a role, but as Emma. What do you carry when your family feels like a memory? How do you hold on to love when it's questioned? I didn't have answers then. But as I closed my laptop, the fog outside thickening, I knew one thing. The distance between us wasn't just mine to bridge. And soon I'd face the moment that would force us all to see the truth. The San Francisco skyline glittered outside my apartment window, a mosaic of lights against the evening fog. I sat on my couch, laptop balanced on my knees, scrolling through Facebook, a habit I usually avoided. Work at Horizon Innovations had been relentless, with late nights prepping for a Tokyo expansion. But that night, I craved connection, a glimpse of the family I'd left behind in Seattle. Then I saw it. A post from my sister, Lauren. A vibrant banner announcing Linda Carter's 60th birthday celebration. My mother's milestone planned at a waterfront lodge on Puget Sound. The guest list sprawled across the screen: cousins, neighbors, even Mom's old college friend from Denver. Everyone except me. My name was missing. An absence as loud as a shout. I'm Emma Carter, 34, Vice President of Strategy at Horizon. And in that moment, I felt like a ghost in my own family's story. The post hit like a wave, cold and disorienting. Lauren had organized it, a livery detail polished. From the floral centerpieces to the hashtag number Linda at 60. I clicked through the event page, my heart sinking with each familiar name. Uncle Tom, Aunt Ellen, even Ethan's new girlfriend. Someone I'd never met, but no Emma Carter. Had it been an oversight? A glitch? I wanted to believe that, but Lauren's meticulous nature made it unlikely. She'd always been the planner, the one who color-coded her high school notes. This was intentional. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, torn between anger and a deeper, quieter hurt. I closed my eyes, the hum of the city fading. I saw my mother, Linda, her silver hair catching the Seattle sunlight, her laugh warm as a summer afternoon. Had she agreed to this? Did she think I didn't care? I called her. The phone rang 4 times before she answered, her voice soft but surprised. Emma? Is everything okay? That was our relationship now calls. Meant emergencies, not love. Everything's fine, Mom, I said, swallowing the lump in my throat. I saw Lauren's post about your birthday party. A pause, heavy with unspoken questions. Oh, that, she said, her tone uncertain. It's just a little gathering. My chest tightened. I didn't get an invitation, I said, my voice smaller than I intended. Another pause. Lauren said you were swamped with work, she replied. That Tokyo project you mentioned. I thought... She trailed off. And I could picture her, brow furrowed, trying to piece it together. Mom, it's your 60th, I said. Firmer now. I'd make time. I want to be there. Her voice warmed like sunlight breaking through clouds. Of course, sweetheart. It'd be wonderful to see you. The call ended with awkward details: date, time, the lodge's address. But her hesitation lingered, a shadow over her words. Had Lauren convinced her I was too busy? That I'd chosen my career over her? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the spark of hope her invitation gave me. I opened my laptop again, booking a first-class ticket to Seattle for the following weekend. $2,100. A stretch for my budget, but this felt vital, a chance to reclaim my place in the family. I called my assistant Sarah the next morning. "I need Friday off next week," I said. "Family thing." She laughed, half shocked. "You? Taking time off for family? Are you okay?" I forced a smile she couldn't see. "Just reschedule the vendor calls, please." Preparation became my anchor. I spent hours searching for the perfect gift. Something that would speak to Mom's heart. I found it in a San Francisco antique Chopa sapphire necklace, its deep blue stone glinting like the Puget Sound at dusk. It reminded me of a story Mom told when I was 10 about her grandmother's sapphire ring, lost in a move but never forgotten. I paired it with a voucher for a wellness retreat in Napa Valley, a place she'd mentioned wanting to visit. The total came to $2,800, extravagant but deliberate. This wasn't just a gift. It was a message. "I know you, Mom. I remember you." I poured my heart into a handwritten letter to tuck inside the gift box, words I'd never dared say aloud. "You've always been my star," I wrote, echoing her words from childhood. "I'm here, even when I'm far away." Choosing an outfit was just as intentional. I settled on a teal dress, elegant but not ostentatious. Its soft fabric, a nod to Mom's love of understated beauty. It was professional enough for Richard's approval, stylish enough to show I was thriving. I stood in front of my mirror, practicing my greeting. "Happy birthday, Mom. I'm so glad to be here." I rehearsed deflections for Lauren's inevitable jabs. "Work's busy, but family comes first." I imagined Richard's stern gaze, Ethan's distracted nod. I'd be warm but not eager, present but not desperate. This wasn't just a party. It was a performance. A chance to prove I belonged. But beneath the planning, anxiety churned. What if Mom's hesitation wasn't just confusion? What if Lauren's narrative that I was too busy, too distant had taken root? I thought of our childhood, when Mom was my safe harbor. At 8, when I was left out of a school play, she'd baked cupcakes, crowned me with paper. At 11, she'd framed my poetry ribbon, defying Richard's disapproval. At 15, she'd driven me to Olympic National Park for a birthday hike. Stars above us, her voice steady. Quality over quantity, Emma. Those moments were my proof she loved me. But now, her calls were rare, her warmth diluted by distance. Had Lauren rewritten our story, turning me into the daughter who left? I sat at my desk the night before the flight, the gift box beside me. I opened my notebook, where I'd sketched ideas for a family scrapbook as a child. That aquarium photo of Mom and me, laughing by the jellyfish tank, was still taped inside. I dreamed of filling it with our moments, a way to hold us together. Lauren's mockery had stopped me, but the dream lingered. Maybe this trip, this gift, this letter, was my grown-up version of that scrapbook, a way to say, "We're still us." I traced the photo with my finger, hope and fear tangling in my chest. I wanted to believe Mom would light up when she saw me, that the lodge's warmth would welcome me, not reject me. The Uber ride to the airport was quiet, my thoughts a storm. I'd packed light but carried the weight of years' very missed call. Every strained holiday, every moment I'd let distance define me. As the plane climbed above San Francisco, I looked down at the city I'd made home. It was mine, built on grit and dreams, but Seattle held my roots, my mother's laugh, the girl I'd been. This trip was more than a party. It was a reckoning, a chance to rewrite the story Lauren had spun, to show them I was still Emma, their daughter, their sister, no matter how far I'd gone. What would you do, finding yourself erased from a moment that matters? Would you fight to be seen? Or let the silence win? I didn't know what waited at that lodge. But as the plane soared towards Seattle, one thing was certain. I was going home, and I'd carry my heart, my truth, right to the door. The Puget Sound sparkled under the April sun, its waves whispering against the shore. The waterfront lodge stood proud, its cedar beams and floor-to-ceiling windows radiating warmth. Inside, laughter and music mingled, a celebration unfolding for my mother's 60th birthday. I approached the entrance, my teal dress catching the breeze, the silver-wrapped gift in my hands a testament to weeks of planning. A sapphire necklace and a wellness retreat voucher, chosen to echo my mother Linda's cherished memories. I'd flown from San Francisco, a $2,100 ticket, my heart full of hope to reclaim my place in this family. But as I reached the door, my father, Richard, stepped forward, his face hard as granite. "You're not on the list, Emma," he said, his voice cold, final. "I'm Emma Carter, 34, Vice President at Horizon Innovations." And in that moment, I was a daughter cast out, my world unraveling before a crowd of onlookers. The words landed like a physical blow, stealing my breath. I stood frozen, the gift heavy in my hands, as my sister Lauren appeared behind him. Her pink dress mirrored one Mom often wore, a deliberate choice. And her smirk cut deeper than Richard's words. This wasn't a mistake. It was a performance, staged for maximum impact. Guests lingered nearby, their eyes darting between us, whispers rising like a tide. "Is that Emma?" I thought she wasn't speaking to them. Another voice, sharper. "Lauren said she called Linda a bad mother at Christmas." Lies, spun by Lauren's careful hand, now echoed in the crowd. My face burned, the weight of their stares pressing against me. I'd rehearsed for this moment, my greeting, my smile, my deflections for Lauren's barbs, but nothing prepared me for this. Exclusion, public and deliberate, orchestrated by the people who should love me most. Richard held a clipboard, his finger tracing a guest list as if I were a stranger crashing a private event. "This party's for people who make time for family," he said, his words laced with venom. "You should have called first." I opened my mouth to protest, my voice catching. "I did call Dad. I spoke to Mom. She said I should come." His expression didn't soften. "There's no mistake. This was planned by those who actually care about your mother." The cruelty was surgical, designed to wound. Lauren stepped closer, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "It's awkward, Emma. We thought you were too busy. After that Christmas fight, we assumed—" She trailed off, letting the lie hang. "We didn't fight," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "I spoke to Mom directly." I scanned the crowd, searching for Linda, hoping to see her familiar silver hair, her warm smile. But she was inside, lost in the celebration, unaware of this scene. "Where's Mom?" I asked, desperate to break through. "I need to speak to her." Richard's jaw tightened. "She's with her real guests. I won't let you upset her on her birthday." The word real was a dagger, slicing away any illusion of belonging. Behind Lauren, her boyfriend Daniel shifted uncomfortably, his gaze fixed on the ground. I'd never met him, only seen him in photostall, dark-haired, his suit slightly too big. He looked out of place, a reluctant witness to this drama. The whispers grew louder. Did Emma really say that about Linda? Lauren said she's too good for them now. Each word built the narrative Lauren had crafted. Emma, the selfish daughter who abandoned her family for a San Francisco high-rise. My heart pounded, urging me to run, to scream, to demand entry. But I couldn't. Not here. Not like this. I thought of my childhood, of Mom's quiet acts of love, the cupcakes we baked when I was 8, her paper crown on my head. The poetry ribbon she framed at 11, tucked away when Richard complained. The hike in Olympic National Park at 15, stars above us, her voice steady. "You're enough, Emma." Those memories were my strength now, a reminder of who I was. I wouldn't let this moment define me. I took a deep breath, my hands steadying around the gift. "Please give this to Mom," I said, my voice clear, almost calm. I handed the package to Richard, his fingers closing around it reflexively. "Tell her I love her, and I hope she has a wonderful birthday." I turned, my steps slow, deliberate. The crowd's eyes followed, their whispers a dull roar. Lauren's laugh pierced the air, sharp and triumphant, as Richard muttered something I couldn't hear. I walked to my rental car, my back straight, my head high. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. But inside, I was shattering. The gift, $2,800, chosen with care, was meant to say, "I see you, Mom." The letter inside, written in my San Francisco apartment, poured out my heart. You've always been my star. Now. It felt like a plea no one would hear. I'd come to Seattle to bridge the distance, to prove I was still their daughter. Instead, I was a spectacle, humiliated before cousins, neighbors, strangers. In the car, my hands shook, the key slipping against the ignition. My mascara threatened to run, but I blinked it back. I gripped the steering wheel, forcing air into my lungs. In. Out. In. Out. I wouldn't cry here. Not in this parking lot. Not where they could see. I'd drive to my hotel, book an earlier flight, return to San Francisco. I'd close this chapter, let go of the family who'd cast me out. But as I sat there, a quieter instinct stirred. I pulled out my notebook, a habit from my San Francisco art therapy class. I sketched the lodge's silhouette, the sound's shimmering waves. The lines grounded me, each stroke a way to process the pain. This wasn't just rejection. It was betrayal, planned and executed with precision. Lauren's smirk, Richard's coldness, they'd wanted this moment, wanted me to feel small. I thought of the family scrapbook I'd dreamed of at 10, that aquarium photo of Mom and me still taped in my notebook. I'd wanted to hold us together, to preserve our love. Lauren had mocked it. But the dream lingered. Maybe that's why I couldn't drive away. Not yet. This pain, this humiliation, wasn't the end. It was a mirror showing me the family we'd become, and the one I still hoped we could be. I'd come here for Mom, for the woman who'd seen me when no one else did. I couldn't let their narrative erase that. What would you do, standing outside a celebration meant for you, turned away by those who should hold you close? Would you walk away, or find a way to fight? As I sat in that car, the Puget Sound glittering beyond, I didn't know what came next. But one thing was clear. I'd carried my heart this far, and I wasn't ready to let it go. The Puget Sound stretched before me, its waves catching the last light of the April afternoon. I sat in my rental car, parked outside the waterfront lodge where my mother's 60th birthday party pulsed with life. My hands gripped the steering wheel, still trembling from the sting of rejection. My father, Richard, had barred me at the door, his words cold. "You're not on the list, Emma." My sister Lauren's smirk had sealed the humiliation, her laugh echoing as I walked away. The gift I'd brought from my mother, Linda's sapphire necklace, and a wellness retreat voucher sat in Richard's hands. A futile gesture now. I'd come to Seattle from San Francisco, hoping to mend the distance between us, only to be cast out before a crowd of whispering guests. I was ready to drive away, to close this chapter of my family forever. But then, a knock on my car window jolted me. Daniel Hayes, Lauren's boyfriend, stood there, his expression a mix of concern and resolve. I'm Emma Carter, 34, Vice President at Horizon Innovations. And in that moment, an unexpected ally changed everything. I lowered the window, my guard up. Daniel's face was familiar from Lauren's Facebook photo stall, dark-haired, his suit slightly too big, like he hadn't planned for this moment either. "Morgan, you mean Miss Carter," he said, correcting himself, his voice nervous but earnest. "Just Emma," I replied, my tone flat. "What do you want?" He glanced back at the lodge, then met my eyes. "I need to talk to you about what happened." My instinct was to drive off to escape this fresh wave of pain, but something in his hesitation, his discomfort, held me there. Against my better judgment, I unlocked the passenger door. He slid in, his presence making the car feel smaller. "I should have said something back there," he began, his hands clasped tightly. "What they did wasn't right." My breath caught. "Then why didn't you?" The question came out sharper than I meant, laced with the raw hurt of the past hour. Daniel sighed, his gaze dropping to his hands. "It's complicated. I've been with Lauren for a year, trying to navigate her family. But what happened today?" He paused, choosing his words. "It was planned. They wanted you to feel this way." My stomach twisted. The truth I'd suspected now, spoken aloud. "Planned?" I whispered, the word heavy. He nodded, his voice steady now. "Last night at the rehearsal dinner, Lauren and your dad talked about what to do if you showed up. Richard said he'd handle it. Your mom wasn't part of that conversation. The revelation was a fresh wound, worse than the rejection itself. This wasn't impulsive cruelty. It was calculated, a deliberate act to erase me from my mother's day. I leaned back, the car's leather creaking, my mind racing. Does Mom even know I was here? I asked, dreading the answer. Daniel hesitated, his eyes softening. She asked about you this morning. Wondered if you might surprise her. Lauren told her you'd sent your regrets weeks ago. The lie stung, sharp and personal. I never said that, I said, my voice barely audible. I told Mom I'd come. I booked a flight, a $2,100 ticket. I bought a gift. My voice broke, the weight of my effort crashing down. Daniel nodded, his expression pained. I know. I've seen how Lauren talks about you. It's not just today. It's been going on for a while. I stared at him, the pieces falling into place. Lauren's campaign to paint me as the distant, career-obsessed daughter hadn't started at the lodge door. It was years in the making, a narrative woven to keep me on the outside. There's something else, Daniel said, his voice lower now. I work at Horizon Innovations. Software engineering, 3rd floor. I transferred from our Seattle office 8 months ago to be closer to Lauren on weekends. My mind reeled, the coincidence almost absurd. Horizon was my world, where I led 150 people as vice president. I hadn't connected the dots too busy with strategy meetings to notice a new engineer. You work for me? I asked, stunned. Not directly, he clarified. But you're in my reporting chain. I recognized you the moment I saw you today. Lauren knows I work at Horizon, but I never told her you're, well, my boss. The irony was bitter. Of all the tech firms in the world, Lauren's boyfriend was part of mine. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice steady now, searching his face. You're dating my sister. Your loyalty should be to her. Daniel looked out at the sound, its waves glinting like scattered jewels. Because what they did was wrong. And because I've seen you at Horizon, you treat people with respect, even when they mess up. The stories Lauren tells about you being cold, neglectful, they don't match the person I know from work. His words landed softly, a lifeline in the storm. There's more, he continued. Your mom's been having health issues. Mild depression, some memory problems. Nothing severe, but it's made her vulnerable. Lauren's been managing her schedule, her meds, her social life. It's given her control. The implications hit like a tide. While I'd been building my career in San Francisco, Lauren had been reshaping our family's story in Seattle, exploiting Mom's fragility to cast me as the villain. Every missed call, every distant conversation with Mom suddenly made sense. Lauren hadn't just excluded me today. She'd been erasing me for years, bit by bit. She's jealous, Daniel said, his voice quiet but firm. You built something on your own. Left Seattle, made a name at Horizon. Lauren compares herself to you constantly, though she'd never admit it. Jealous? The idea was jarring. Lauren, the golden child with her perfect grades and Dad's approval, jealous of me? But as I thought of her smirk, her barbed words at Christmas, you think you're better than us, it rang true. Daniel's own story spilled out, unprompted. I get it, in a way, he said. I grew up in Portland, expected to join my dad's construction business. I chose tech instead. Moved away. My family called me selfish, said I was chasing dreams over duty. It's not the same, but I know what it's like to be judged for building your own path. His honesty disarmed me, a bridge between us. Here was someone caught in my family's web, choosing truth over loyalty to Lauren. So what now? He asked, turning to me. What are you going to do? I stared at the lodge, its lights a beacon of the celebration I'd been denied. The easy choice was to leave, to sever ties with a family that planned my pain. But another part of Meath girl who'd baked cupcakes with Mom, who'd dreamed of a family scrapbook, couldn't let go. I don't know, I said, my voice soft but growing stronger, but I can't let them write my story. Daniel nodded, a flicker of relief in his eyes. Whatever you decide, I'll back you up. I still have to face them at holidays. Despite the ache, I smiled faintly. Noted. As he stepped out of the car, The sound's waves seemed to whisper a challenge. This wasn't just about today. It was about reclaiming my place, my truth. I pulled out my notebook, sketching the lodge's outline, a habit from my San Francisco art therapy class. The lines steadied me, each stroke a promise. I wasn't done here. What would you do, faced with a betrayal planned in secret? Would you walk away, or find the strength to fight back? As I sat there, Daniel's words echoing, I felt a spark of hope. This wasn't the end. It was a turning point, one that would show me who I could be. The Puget Sound shimmered beyond the waterfront lodge, its waves catching the golden light of the April evening. Inside, the celebration for my mother's 60th birthday pulsed with laughter, clinking glasses, a slideshow of family photos flickering on a screen. I'd been barred from this moment, turned away at the door by my father, Richard, with the cold declaration. "You're not on the list, Emma." My sister Lauren's smirk had sealed the humiliation. Her lies about me calling our mother, Linda, a bad parent at Christmas whispered among the guests. I'd walked away, gift in hand, ready to sever ties forever. But Daniel Hayes, Lauren's boyfriend, and my employee at Horizon Innovations had stopped me. His revelation that my exclusion was planned, that Lauren had manipulated our family story for years, lit a fire in me. I'm Emma Carter, 34, vice president in San Francisco, and as I re-entered that lodge with Daniel by my side, I wasn't just fighting for a seat at the party, I was fighting for my truth. Walking back into that lodge was like stepping onto a battlefield. My teal dress felt like armor, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. Daniel led the way through a side door, bypassing Richard's checkpoint at the entrance. The room was alive with about 60 guests, their voices a warm hum over the soft jazz playing. Circular tables draped in white linens held flickering candles, and the slideshow flashed moments I barely recognized: Lauren's graduations, Ethan's childhood grins, Mom and Dad's anniversaries. My face was nearly absent, a silent erasure that stung. Daniel paused, his voice rising above the crowd's murmur. "Everyone, I'd like to introduce Emma Carter, Linda's daughter." He paused, then added with perfect timing, "And my boss at Horizon Innovations in San Francisco." The room fell silent, heads turning, eyes widening. I felt the weight of their stares, a mix of curiosity and shock, as if I'd materialized from nowhere. My mother sat at a central table, radiant in a lavender dress, her silver hair catching the light. She was laughing at something Uncle Tom said, unaware of the drama at the door. At Daniel's words, her head snapped up, her eyes finding mine. "Emma?" she said, her voice a mix of confusion and joy. She stood, her napkin falling to the floor, her smile breaking through the fog of the moment. "You came." Before I could respond, Lauren surged forward, her pink dress a blur. Her face was flushed, her eyes darting between Daniel and me with dawning panic. "Daniel, what are you doing?" she hissed, her voice low but sharp. "The right thing," he said simply, stepping back to give me the floor. Richard appeared next, his posture rigid, his expression thunderous. "I thought I made myself clear at the door," he said, his words a warning. I took a breath, steadying myself. This wasn't the boardroom presentations I was used to at Horizon, where I could rely on data and strategy. This was raw, personal, a confrontation with the family who'd shaped me. But I thought of Mom's quiet acts of love cupcakes at 8, a framed poetry ribbon at 11, a starry hike at 15. Those memories were my strength now. "There's been a misunderstanding," I said, my voice clear, carrying across the room. "I was told I wasn't welcome today, that I wasn't on the list. But I spoke to Mom last week. She said I should come. I flew from San Francisco, took time off work, because this is her 60th birthday, because I love her." The guests leaned in, their whispers fading, the air thick with anticipation. Linda approached, her eyes searching mine, then shifting to Richard. "Robert, what's going on? Why do you look so angry?" Her voice trembled, her joy at seeing me now laced with concern. "Morgan, sweetheart, I'm so happy you're here." Her words confirmed what Daniel had told me she hadn't known about my rejection. The realization was both a relief and a spark of fury. "Mom," I said gently, taking her hands, "did you think I didn't want to come? Lauren told you I was too busy, didn't she? That my Tokyo project kept me away?" Linda blinked, confusion clouding her face. Well, yes, she said you couldn't make it, that you'd sent your regrets. I shook my head, my voice firm. I never said that. I told you I'd be here. I rearranged meetings. I bought a gift. I glanced at Richard, who still held the silver-wrapped package. It's for you, Mom. I came to celebrate you. Linda's expression shifted to shock, her gaze turning to Lauren, then Richard. Richard, is this true? Did you turn Emma away? Richard's face tightened, his voice low. We discussed this, Linda, after what she said at Christmas about us holding her back. Linda's eyes widened, her voice sharp, a tone I hadn't heard in years. We discussed no such thing. Emma is my daughter. She's always welcome at my birthday. The room was so quiet I could hear the clink of ice in glasses, the distant lap of waves outside. This wasn't how I'd imagined this moment tearing our family's wounds before cousins, neighbors, Mom's bridge club. But maybe this public reckoning was what we needed, a mirror to show us who we'd become. I turned to the room, my voice steady but warm, the tone I used in tough negotiations at Horizon. Many of you have known me since I was a kid. I've never been perfect, but I've always loved my family. My career took me to San Francisco, not the moon. I call, I visit, I try. But for years, my efforts have been twisted. My absences framed as neglect, my choices painted as rejection. I looked at Lauren, her face pale now, her smirk gone. Lauren, you've told people I called Mom a bad mother. That I said the family held me back. I never said those things. At Christmas, you accused me of thinking I'm better than you. I defended myself. I said I built my career on my own. That's not an attack. It's the truth. Lauren's eyes flashed, but her voice was tight. This isn't the time, Emma. You're making Mom's birthday about you. I gestured toward her, calm but unyielding. That's the story you've told. That I'm selfish, that I don't care. But it's not true. I turned to Mom, my voice softening. I'm here because you're my anchor. You taught me to sail on Lake Washington when I was 12, remember? You said the wind doesn't choose your path, you do. I'm choosing my path now, Mom. To be here, to be your daughter. Linda's eyes filled with tears, her hands squeezing mine. I remember, Emma. I've missed you. The guests stirred, some nodding, others whispering. Aunt Ellen's face softened, as if seeing me anew. But Lauren's shoulders stiffened, her composure fraying. Richard stood silent, his clipboard a forgotten prop. This wasn't just a confrontation. It was a reclamation of my voice, my place, my truth. I thought of the family scrapbook I'd dreamed of as a child, that aquarium photo of Mom and me. I'd wanted to hold us together. Maybe this moment, raw and painful, was the first page of a new story. What would you do, standing before those who've misjudged you, with the chance to speak your truth? Would you stay silent, or let your voice rise? As I stood there, Mom's hands in mine, I felt a shift. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something honest, something real. The air in the small side room of the waterfront lodge was thick with tension, the distant hum of the Puget Sound barely audible through the closed door. Moments ago, I'd stood before a crowd of 60 guests at my mother's 60th birthday party, my voice steady as I exposed the truth. My father, Richard, had barred me from the celebration, claiming I wasn't on the list, while my sister, Lauren, spread lies that I'd called our mother, Linda, a bad parent. Daniel Hayes, Lauren's boyfriend and my employee at Horizon Innovations, had introduced me as Linda's daughter and his boss, shattering the narrative of my absence. Now, in this private room, the 5 of us, Linda, Richard, Lauren, Daniel, and me, Emma Carter, 34, vice president from San Francisco, faced each other, stripped of pretense. The confrontation had been public, but this reckoning was raw, a chance to unearth the insecurities and truths that had fractured our family for years. Linda took charge, her lavender dress catching the dim light, her silver hair framing a face both fierce and fragile. "Sit down, all of you," she said, her voice uncharacteristically sharp. We complied, settling into chairs around a small table, like children awaiting a verdict. Her eyes, usually warm, were steely as she turned to Richard. "Did you turn our daughter away at the door of my birthday party?" she asked, each word deliberate. Richard shifted, his hands clasped tightly, his usual authority faltering. I was protecting you, Linda, he said, his voice low. After what she said at Christmas, about us holding her back. Linda's gaze didn't waver. What exactly did she say? In her own words, not Lauren's version. Richard's brow furrowed, uncertainty creeping in. That she had to build her life herself, because we never supported her. I leaned forward, my teal dress rustling, my heart pounding but my voice calm. That's not what I said, Dad. At Christmas, Lauren accused me of thinking I'm better than everyone. I said I built my career myself. It's true. I'm vice president at Horizon, managing 150 people, because I worked for it. That wasn't an attack on you. Linda's eyes softened as she looked at me, then hardened again as she turned to Lauren, who sat rigid, her pink dress a stark contrast to her pale face. Lauren, Linda said, her voice quieter but no less firm. Have you been keeping Emma and me apart? Telling me she was too busy, that she didn't want to come? Lauren's eyes darted to the floor, her composure cracking. I was just trying to help, she said, her voice trembling. You've been struggling, Mom. I didn't want you upset. Linda's hand tightened around mine, her touch grounding me. Struggling? She repeated, her tone sharp with realization. You mean my depression, my memory issues? You thought it was your place to decide what I could handle? The room fell silent, the weight of her words settling over us. Daniel had told me about Mom's health-mild depression, early cognitive decline and vulnerabilities Lauren had exploited to control the family's narrative. I spoke, my voice gentle but firm. Mom, I didn't know about your health. No one told me. If I'd known, I would have been here more, called more. But Lauren made sure I was kept in the dark. Lauren's head snapped up, her eyes flashing. You left, Emma. You got to run off to San Francisco, become Miss Big Shot, while I stayed here, driving Mom to doctors, helping with the house. You don't get to swoop in and play the hero. Her words were raw, a confession of pain I hadn't expected. For years, I'd seen Lauren as the golden child, perfect grades, Dad's pride, the daughter who stayed. But now, I saw the weight she carried, the resentment of being the one who didn't leave. Lauren, I said, my voice soft, I never wanted to compete with you. I left because I had to find my own path. But I never stopped loving this family. Your version of me cold, neglectful, it's not true. Linda's eyes filled with tears, her grip on my hand tightening. Is this true, Lauren? Have you been turning us against Emma? Lauren's defiance crumbled, tears spilling down her cheeks. You don't understand, Mom. Emma gets to show up for holidays, and everyone makes a fuss. Then she's gone, and I'm here, every day, being the good daughter. And you still keep her poetry ribbon in your drawer. Third place, from 20 years ago. Why? The mention of that ribbon framed by Mom when I was 11, hidden after Richard's disapproval, stunned me. It had become a symbol for Lauren, proof of a love she felt she couldn't earn. Linda's voice was soft now, almost a whisper. Lauren, I've never compared you. I love you both, differently, because you're different people. That ribbon isn't about Emma being better. It's about her heart. Lauren's tears fell freely, her shoulders shaking. For the first time, I saw her not as my rival, but as my sister, trapped in a role she'd never chosen. I spoke, my voice steady but warm. We need honesty, all of us. No more gatekeeping, no more rewriting what I say. I want us to try again. Maybe we could start a family podcast. Share our stories, understand each other, or an art therapy workshop, like the one I do in San Francisco, something to rebuild trust. Richard, silent until now, cleared his throat. I may have misjudged some things, he said, his voice gruff. If what you're saying about Lauren is true, he trailed off, the closest he'd come to an apology. It wasn't enough, but from him, it was a start. Daniel spoke, his voice hesitant but clear. I should have said something sooner. I've heard Lauren exaggerate things Emma said, twist her absences into rejections. I'm sorry. Lauren turned to him, her eyes flashing with betrayal. You're choosing her side? Your boss over me? Daniel shook his head. It's not about sides. It's about what's right. The word right hung in the air, a challenge to us all. Linda stood, her presence commanding despite her fragility. I'm tired of secrets in this family, she said. I want my daughters, my husband to talk to me directly. No intermediaries, Emma. I've missed you more than you know. Her words wrapped around me, a warmth I hadn't felt in years. I thought of the family scrapbook I dreamed of at 10, that aquarium photo of Mom and me. This moment, painful and honest, was its own kind of scrapbook, a page of truth. This won't fix everything, I said, meeting each of their eyes. But it's a start. We can't keep living in stories we've made up about each other. As we prepared to rejoin the party, Linda held me back, her voice soft. Your gift, Emma, the sapphire necklace. How did you know? I smiled, my heart full. You told me about Grandma's ring when I was 10. I wanted you to have something like it. Her eyes glistened. You remembered. I squeezed her hand. I remember everything important, Mom. We stepped back into the lodge, the celebration resuming, the tension lighter but still there. Lauren lingered behind, her tears a silent reckoning. This wasn't healing, not yet. But it was hope, fragile and real. What would you say, faced with a family bound by lies? Would you walk away, or dare to rebuild? As I stood beside Mom, her hand in mine, I knew this was just the beginning. A chance to write a new story, together. The Seattle skyline faded behind me as my plane climbed toward San Francisco, the Puget Sound a silver ribbon below. The weekend of my mother's 60th birthday party had been a storm humiliation at the lodge door, a public confrontation, a raw reckoning with my family's truths. I'd been barred by my father, Richard, mocked by my sister, Lauren, until Daniel Hayes, her boyfriend and my employee at Horizon Innovations, revealed their planned exclusion. Standing before the guests, I'd spoken my truth, and in a private room, we'd faced our wounds. Lauren's resentment, Richard's misjudgments, my mother Linda's manipulated distance. Now, as I returned to my life as Emma Carter, 34, vice president in San Francisco, I carried both the ache of that day and a fragile hope. The bridges between us were broken, but I was determined to rebuild them, one careful step at a time, weaving my personal growth into the life I'd built. I extended my stay in Seattle through Sunday, craving moments to reconnect. Saturday morning, I met Linda at a cafe near Pike Place Market, the air rich with coffee and sea salt. She wore the sapphire necklace I'd given her, its blue stone catching the light, a quiet symbol of our bond. Over lattes, we talked not about the party's drama, but about small things. Her garden, my community garden in San Francisco, the way she'd taught me to sail on Lake Washington at 12. You always had a steady hand, she said, her smile warm but tinged with regret. I should have called you more, Emma. I reached for her hand. We're here now, Mom. That's what matters. Her eyes glistened, and I saw the woman who'd baked cupcakes with me at 8, who'd framed my poetry ribbon at 11. She was still there, beneath the years of distance. Richard made an effort, awkward but real. At dinner that night, he asked about Horizon Innovation, shouting questions about tech trends, the Tokyo expansion. It was the first time he'd shown genuine curiosity about my work, not just dismissed it as, that tech thing. Sounds like you're running the show, he said, his gruff voice softening. I nodded, cautious but grateful. It's a team effort, Dad. Ethan, my younger brother, surprised me most. Usually distant, he opened up about his bartending job, his dream of opening a craft brewery. You did your own thing, Emma, he said, almost shyly. Maybe I could too, I encouraged him, seeing a spark I hadn't noticed before. These moments weren't perfect, but they were honest, a foundation we hadn't had in years. Lauren was the hardest. She kept her distance, her silence loud after the party's revelations. But Sunday morning, as I packed to leave, my phone buzzed with a text. I know I messed up, she wrote. I'm thinking about things, need time. It wasn't an apology, but from Lauren, it was significant. I replied, I'm here when you're ready. I thought of her tears in that side room, her admission of feeling unappreciated, her fixation on my poetry ribbon as proof of Mom's love. Lauren wasn't just my rival, she was my sister, carrying her own burdens. Healing with her would take time if it happened at all, but her text was a crack in the wall between us. Back in San Francisco, I threw myself into work with new clarity. The confrontation had changed me, sharpened my sense of self. At Horizon, I launched a mentorship program for young women, inspired by my own journey. I'd fought to be seen in a male-dominated industry, just as I'd fought for my family's understanding. Mentoring became my way of paying it forward, sharing lessons of resilience and authenticity. "Your worth isn't in others' approval," I told a nervous analyst, echoing words I'd learned the hard way. My team noticed the shift. "You're more present, my boss," Claire said after a strategy meeting. I smiled. "I'm learning to bring my whole self to work." The party's lessons spilled into my personal life. I organized a family volunteer day at a Seattle food bank for my next visit, an idea sparked by my community garden in San Francisco. I pictured us, Linda, Richard, Ethan, maybe even Lauren, sorting donations, working side by side. It wasn't a grand gesture, but a practical one, a way to build trust through shared purpose. I emailed the family, proposing the plan, and Linda replied instantly, "Count me in, sweetheart." Richard's response was slower, a simple, "Sounds good." Ethan sent a thumbs up. Lauren didn't reply, but I hadn't expected her to. Small steps, I told myself. Healing wasn't a sprint. I kept my art therapy practice, sketching in my notebook to process the weekend's emotions. One evening, I drew the lodge's silhouette, the Puget Sound's waves, but added something new, a sailboat, like the one Mom taught me to navigate. It symbolized choice, the lesson she'd given me at 12. The wind doesn't decide your path, you do. That choice guided me now, in how I approached my family and my work. I proposed a family podcast to Linda, a way to share our stories openly, to understand each other's paths. "I'd love that," she said during our next call, her voice brighter than it had been in years. "Let's talk about it when you're back." Those calls resumed, weekly now, each one deeper. Linda shared more about her health-mild depression, memory issues, managed with treatment but exacerbated by family tension. "Lauren thought she was protecting me," she said, her voice heavy. "But I needed you, Emma. I promised to be there, directly, no intermediaries." Richard's efforts continued, small but meaningful. He emailed an article about tech startups, with a note. "Thought you'd find this interesting." It was clumsy, but it was progress. Ethan texted more, sharing brewery ideas, asking about San Francisco. These connections, tentative and imperfect, were the bridges I'd hoped for. Professionally, I navigated the Daniel situation with care. He'd requested a transfer to Horizon's product development team, a lateral move to avoid conflicts of interest. I approved it, ensuring clear boundaries. We kept interactions professional, but his support at the party had forged a quiet respect. Lauren's struggling. He told me over coffee one weekend, off the clock. She's seeing a therapist, trying to unpack things. The news stirred hope. Lauren seeking help meant she might face her role in our family's dysfunction, a step I hadn't dared expect. I thought of the family scrapbook I'd dreamed of at 10, that aquarium photo of Mom and me, these new moments coffee with Mom, Richard's questions, Ethan's dreams. Lauren's texts were pages in a different kind of scrapbook, one built on honesty. The party had been a breaking point, but also a turning point, showing me what family could be when we chose truth over roles. I wasn't naive. Lauren's silence could persist. Richard's efforts might falter. Mom's health would need watching. But I was ready to show up, to keep building. What would you do, after a family's truths are laid bare? Would you let old wounds define you, or build something new? As I walked through my San Francisco garden, the lavender I'd planted blooming, I felt a quiet strength. The bridges we build aren't perfect, but each step across them is a choice to love, to try, to be seen, and I was ready for the journey ahead. The San Francisco fog curled around the airport terminal, a soft veil over the morning bustle. I stood at the arrivals gate, my heart a mix of nerves and anticipation, scanning the crowd for a familiar face. My mother, Linda Carter, was coming to visit their first trip to my world in the 15 years since I'd left Seattle for college. After the storm of her 60th birthday party, where I'd been barred by my father, Richard, and mocked by my sister Lauren, only to confront their lies with Daniel Hayes' support, Our family had begun to heal. That weekend's raw reckoning had opened doors, and now, Linda's visit was a chance to walk through them. I'm Emma Carter, 34, Vice President at Horizon Innovations, and as I spotted Mom's silver hair, her lavender scarf bright against the gray, I felt like a daughter again, ready to share the life I'd built and rediscover the woman who'd shaped me. Linda waved, her smile wide and unguarded, a warmth I hadn't seen in years. "Emma," she called, quickening her pace. She looked smaller, more fragile than I remembered, her steps careful but her eyes bright. I hugged her, breathing in her familiar scent of jasmine and home. "Welcome to San Francisco, Mom," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe you're here." She laughed, squeezing my arm. "Neither can I, sweetheart. Show me your world." I'd taken 3 days off work an unheard of act that had my assistant Sarah joking about checking my temperature. But this wasn't just a visit. It was a bridge. A chance to rebuild what distance and misunderstanding had eroded. We started at my apartment, a cozy space overlooking the Charles River, its walls lined with books and sketches from my art therapy class. Linda ran her fingers over the sapphire necklace I'd given her at the party, now a constant accessory. "This means so much," she said, her voice soft. "You remembered Grandma's ring." I showed her my community garden plot near Golden Gate Park, where lavender and sunflowers bloomed under my care. "It reminds me of your garden in Seattle," I said, kneeling to pull a weed. She joined me, her hands in the soil, and for a moment, we were back in her backyard, planting tulips when I was 8. "You've made a home here," she said, her eyes glistening. "I see why you love it." The next day, we wandered through my favorite Hansa bookstore in the Mission District, its shelves stuffed with poetry, a cafe where the barista knew my order, black coffee, splash of oat milk. At the San Francisco Public Library's hidden garden, we sat on a bench, the city's hum distant. I read her a poem I'd written in my art therapy class, inspired by our Lake Washington sailing days. "You always had a way with words," she said, her voice proud. These moments weren't grand, but they were profound, stitching us back together. I saw Mom not as the distant figure Lauren had framed, but as the woman who'd crowned me with paper at 8, who'd hiked with me under stars at 15. The third day, I brought her to Horizon Innovations. Walking her through the sleek office, I felt a mix of pride and vulnerability. My colleagues greeted her warmly, their praise shifting her view of me. "Emma's a powerhouse, my boss," Claire said, shaking Linda's hand. "She's leading our Tokyo expansion." Linda's eyes widened, a smile breaking through. "I had no idea," she whispered later as we toured my office. "Lauren said you were busy, but you're changing the world." Her words healed a wound I hadn't named, the fear that my family saw my career as abandonment. Seeing Mom's pride, I realized I wasn't the absent daughter. I was a leader, a daughter, both at once. Over dinner at a waterfront restaurant, the Bay Bridge twinkling outside, Linda shared more about her health. "It's early-stage cognitive decline," she said, her voice steady but small. "Not Alzheimer's, but my memory's not what it was. Depression, too, though the meds help." My heart sank. "Why didn't you tell me, Mom?" She sighed, stirring her tea. "Lauren thought it'd stress you out with your job. I see now that wasn't her call." The revelation stung, another layer of Lauren's gatekeeping. "From now on," I said, my voice firm, "you tell me directly. No intermediaries." She nodded, her eyes resolute. "I promise, Emma. I need you in my life." That promise was a lifeline, a vow to rebuild without filters. We attended a storytelling event in The Haight, a new experience I'd hoped would spark joy. Locals shared tales of love, loss, and renewal, their voices weaving a tapestry of human connection. Inspired, I stood and shared a short story about Mom teaching me to sail, how her lesson, "The wind doesn't choose your path," guided me still. Linda's eyes shone with tears, her hand finding mine. "You make me sound like a hero," she whispered. "You are," I said, meaning every word. The audience applauded, and for the first time, I felt Mom saw me not just as her daughter, but as a woman who'd built something meaningful. Daniel Hayes, still at Horizon but now in product development, greeted us professionally during the office visit. His transfer had set clear boundaries, but his warmth toward Linda asking about her Seattle garden listening intently showed his respect. "He's a good man," Linda said later, her voice thoughtful. "Whatever happens with Lauren, he cares about this family." I nodded, grateful for his role in our healing, even as his relationship with Lauren remained on pause. His support at the party had been a turning point, and now, he was an ally in a quieter way. As Mom's visit ended, something fundamental had shifted. We stood at the airport, her lavender scarf fluttering in the breeze. "I'm so proud of you," she said, hugging me tightly. "Not just for your work, but for who you are." I held her close, tears prickling. "I learned it from you, Mom." She boarded her flight, her wave a beacon of connection. Back in San Francisco, our weekly calls deepened, filled with stories and laughter. She sent a book of poetry, a scarf that matched my eye tokens that said, "I see you." The visit had rewritten our story, proving I could be a daughter from afar, not absent but present in a new way. I thought of the family scrapbook I dreamed of as a child, that aquarium photo of Mom and me. This visit was a new page, vivid with garden dirt, library poems, and shared stories. The party's pain had forced us to face truth. But this week showed what truth could build: love, understanding, a bond no narrative could break. As I walked through my San Francisco garden, the lavender blooming, I felt whole. Mom's visit wasn't just a moment. It was a promise of a family I could choose, of a life where I could be all of me. What would you share? If your parent could see your world, how would you rebuild what time took away? Mom's visit taught me that bridges are built with patience, with moments that say, "We're still us." And as I looked to the future, I knew we'd keep building, together, one story at a time. The San Francisco fog draped my apartment in a quiet glow, the Charles River shimmering faintly below. It was Christmas Eve, and my dining table, extended with a rented leaf, held a spread of roasted vegetables, artisan bread, and a turkey I'd spent hours perfecting. For the first time, I was hosting my family. My mother, Linda, my father, Richard, and my younger brother, Ethan, with his new girlfriend, Mia. The journey to this moment had been a crucible. My humiliating exclusion from Mom's 60th birthday party in Seattle, orchestrated by Richard and my sister, Lauren, shattered by Daniel Hayes' revelation that I was his boss at Horizon Innovations. The confrontation that followed, raw and public, had forced us to face our truths, and the months since marked by Linda's visit, small gestures and honest conversations, had begun to weave a new story. I'm Emma Carter, 34, vice president in San Francisco, and as I lit the candles, I felt a profound shift. This wasn't just a holiday. It was a celebration of a family redefined, of a self fully embraced. The past 8 months had been a tapestry of change. After Mom's visit to San Francisco, where we'd gardened, read poetry, and shared stories, our bond had deepened. Weekly calls became a ritual, filled with laughter and vulnerability. She sent small gifts: a book of Rumi's poems, a scarf in teal, my favorite color each one, saying, "I see you." Richard's efforts, though clumsy, grew steadier. He emailed tech articles, asked about my Tokyo expansion, even visited my community garden plot during a layover at SFO. "You've got a green thumb," he said, almost smiling, a far cry from the man who'd barred me at the lodge door. Ethan opened up, sharing plans for his craft brewery, inspired by my independence. "You showed me it's possible," he texted, a message that warmed me more than he knew. Lauren remained the most complex. Her text after the party, admitting she'd messed up, had been a fragile bridge. She declined my Christmas invitation, but sent a gift basket: local Seattle coffee, a handwritten note, "Hope it's a good day. Maybe next year." The words held cautious hope, a sign she was grappling with her role in our family's pain. Daniel, now in Horizon's product development team, told me she'd started therapy. "She's unpacking a lot," he said over coffee. Our talks strictly professional but kind. Their relationship was on pause, but her willingness to seek help sparked optimism. Healing with Lauren would be a long road, but her note was a step, one I held close. Professionally, I'd soared. The birthday confrontation had crystallized my authenticity, shaping my leadership at Horizon. I was promoted to senior vice president, overseeing global operations, a role that demanded bold decisions and frequent travel, including Singapore for our expansion. During my performance review, CEO Rachel Nguyen said, "You've always been strategic, Emma, but now you bring heart. That's rare." I shared a sanitized version of the party, framing it as a lesson in truth-telling under pressure. "It taught me to stand firm," I said. And Rachel nodded. "That's why you're here." The promotion was a milestone, but the real triumph was internal. I'd integrated my personal and professional selves, no longer hiding one to justify the other. I channeled that growth into mentoring. The program I'd launched for young women at Horizon flourished, with analysts like Priya, who struggled with family expectations, finding confidence through our talks. "You make it seem possible," she said, echoing Ethan's words. I started a blog, Roots and Wings, sharing edited stories of my family journey and inviting readers to submit theirs. Posts poured in tales of exclusion, reconciliation, courage, building a community of voices. The blog became my digital scrapbook, a nod to the one I dreamed of at 10, that aquarium photo of Mom and me, now joined by stories from strangers who felt like kin. This Christmas was a deliberate reclaiming of the holiday that had sparked our family's fracture a year ago, when Lauren's accusations, "You think you're better than us," had set the stage for my exclusion. Now, as Linda, Richard, Ethan, and Mia gathered in my apartment, the atmosphere was different. No one played childhood roles. We were adults, choosing connection. Before dinner, Linda raised her glass, her sapphire necklace glinting. "To Emma," she said, her voice steady, "for bringing us together, not just here, but in our hearts. Your courage changed us." Richard, usually stoic, nodded, his eyes misty. "I've been thinking about the father I was," he said. "I'm proud of you, Emma, not just your job, but your integrity." His words, long desired, landed like a gift, unexpected and precious. We ate, laughed, shared stories. Ethan talked brewery plans. Mia, a graphic designer, sketched ideas for his logo. Linda recounted sailing on Lake Washington, tying it to my blog's theme of choosing your path. After dinner, we cleared plates together, a first for the Carters. A small act of unity. I proposed an art therapy workshop for our next gathering, inspired by my San Francisco classes. "We could paint, create, talk," I said. Linda's eyes lit up. "Let's do it in Seattle." Richard grunted agreement. Ethan grinned. The idea felt like a seed, one we'd nurture together. Later, as snow dusted the city, a rare San Francisco treat, received a text from Lauren. "Hope dinner went well. Thinking of you." It wasn't presents, but it was progress, a whisper of next year's possibility. I replied, "It was great. Doors open." The exchange, simple yet profound, held the promise of a bridge we might cross. The lessons from this journey reshaped my leadership. I mentored with empathy, advocated fiercely, made decisions with both head and heart. At Horizon, I pushed for a diversity initiative, inspired by my blog stories. "Everyone deserves to be seen," I told my team, believing it more than ever. My next review with Rachel was glowing. "You're a leader who transforms, Emma." That transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal. A fusion of the girl who'd dreamed of a scrapbook and the woman who'd faced her family's rejection. We planned a family therapy session in Seattle. Not out of crisis, but commitment. Linda, Richard, Ethan, Lauren, and I would sit together, guided by a professional, to keep building. I booked my flight, the act a symbol of my choice to stay connected. The sapphire necklace, now Mom's favorite, appeared in every family photo, a reminder of being seen, even from afar. My blog grew, readers sharing how exclusion led them to belonging, echoing Mom's words during her visit. "Sometimes being left out shows you where you truly fit." What would you build if pain became a doorway to truth? How would you rewrite your family's story? This Christmas, surrounded by candlelight and love, I learned that family isn't a fixed point. It's a journey, one we choose daily with honesty, boundaries, and courage. The rejection at Mom's party hadn't broken us. It had opened us, to a narrative where we could all be seen. As I looked at my family, laughing in my San Francisco home, I felt it, hope, not as a wish, but as a promise. One we'd keep writing, together, with every step we took. Share your story. Have you faced family misunderstanding and found a way through? Your voice matters. Thank you for hearing mine. Let's keep choosing truth, even when it shakes. Because that's where healing begins. The San Francisco fog settled softly over my apartment, a gentle veil as I stood by the window, the Charles River a quiet shimmer below. It was spring, nearly a year since the day I stood outside a waterfront lodge in Seattle, barred from my mother's 60th birthday party by my father, Richard. His words cold. "You're not on the list, Emma." My sister Lauren's smirk, the whispers of guests repeating her lies that I'd called our mother, Linda. A bad mother had cut deeper than I could have imagined. I'm Emma Carter, 34, Senior Vice President at Horizon Innovations, and that moment of rejection could have ended my family's story. Instead, it began a journey of truth, courage, and transformation, one that redefined who we are and who I've become. That April day, I'd flown from San Francisco, a $2,100 ticket, carrying a sapphire necklace and a wellness retreat voucher, gifts chosen to honor Linda's love for her grandmother's lost ring. My teal dress, my rehearsed greetings, were armor against the distance that had grown since I left Seattle for UC Berkeley, chasing a tech career that made Richard scoff and Lauren resent me. Growing up in Seattle's suburbs, I was the invisible middle child, overshadowed by Lauren's accolades and Ethan's charm, but Linda's quiet axe cupcakes at 8, a framed poetry ribbon at 11, a starry hike at 15 had anchored me. Yet, years of Lauren's narrative, painting me as the daughter who abandoned them, had turned my absences into evidence, exploiting Linda's mild depression and cognitive decline to widen the rift. The humiliation at the lodge door, orchestrated by Richard and Lauren, was meant to break me. But Daniel Hayes, Lauren's boyfriend and my employee at Horizon, changed everything. His revelation that my exclusion was planned, that Lauren had twisted my story for, years ignited a fire. With him, I re-entered the party, declaring my truth. I'd come for Mom, despite Lauren's lies. The confrontation spilled into a private room, where Linda's shock at my rejection, Lauren's raw admission of feeling unappreciated, and Richard's grudging acknowledgement of misjudgment laid bare our wounds. It wasn't healing, but it was a start, a crack in the narrative we'd all accepted. The months that followed were a delicate dance of rebuilding. I stayed in Seattle, sharing coffee with Linda at Pike Place Market, her sapphire necklace, a symbol of our bond. Richard asked about my work, Ethan's shared brewery dreams, and Lauren's cautious text, "I messed up," hinted at progress. Back in San Francisco, I launched a mentorship program at Horizon, inspired by my fight to be seen, and started a blog, Roots and Wings, to share our story and others. Linda's visit to San Francisco was transformative, gardening together, reading poetry. Her pride at Horizon's office rewrote me as a daughter, not absent but present. Her health, early-stage cognitive decline demanded direct communication, bypassing Lauren's gatekeeping. By Christmas, I hosted my family in San Francisco, a reclaimed holiday where Linda toasted my courage, Richard admitted pride, and Lauren's gift basket signaled hope. We planned an art therapy workshop, a family therapy session, small steps toward a future we'd choose together. This journey wasn't a fairy tale. Lauren's healing is slow, her therapy ongoing, her presence still tentative. Richard's efforts falter at times, and Linda's health requires vigilance. But the sapphire necklace, worn at every family gathering, and my blog's growing community of stories remind me. We're writing a new narrative, one of honesty, boundaries, and love. Professionally, my promotion to Senior Vice President reflects a leadership shaped by this ordeal, strategic yet heartfelt, mentoring others to find their voice. Personally, I've learned that family isn't a fixed portrait, but a living story, one we rewrite with every choice to show up, to speak truth, to forgive. The deepest lesson from this year is that courage to face truth, even when it shakes, is the root of belonging. Exclusion hurts because it denies our place, but it also reveals where we truly fit. My rejection at the lodge door wasn't the end, it was a doorway to authenticity. By speaking out, I reclaimed my voice, not just as a daughter, but as a woman who integrates her past and present. This courage isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, flawed and hopeful, to build connections that reflect who you are. For you, living in today's fast-paced world, this lesson is a guide. Families like ours are messy, shaped by misunderstandings, roles, and unspoken hurts. If you've felt excluded, whether by relatives, friends, or colleagues, know that your truth is your power. Start small. An honest conversation, a letter like the one I wrote to Mom, a moment where you say, "This is who I am." Set boundaries, not to push others away, but to create space for authentic connection. If someone misrepresents you, as Lauren did me, don't let their narrative define you. Speak your story, even if your voice trembles. It's not about winning, it's about being seen. Apply this daily. At work, advocate for your ideas. Mentor someone who feels overlooked, as I did with Priya. At home, share a memory with a parent, like my sailing story with Mom, to rebuild trust. If distance, geographic, or emotional separates you, send a small gesture, like Linda's scarf, to say, "I'm here." Join a community, like my blog or my San Francisco garden, where your story finds echo. And forgive, not to erase pain, but to free yourself for what's possible. Therapy, as Lauren's doing, or creative outlets, like my art therapy, can help process the past. Life in 2025 is complex. Social media amplifies narratives, work demands pull us from family, and personal growth can feel isolating. But Emma's journey shows that exclusion can lead to belonging if you choose courage over silence. Write your own scrapbook, not with paper, but with moments of truth. Share your story, as I've shared mine. Have you faced rejection and found a way through? Your voice matters. Let's keep choosing truth, building bridges, and finding where we fit, because that's where family and life truly begin.